CodCast. I am your host, whatever you want to call me. I still haven't decided a name. But we have, as my co-host, as always, Jedi Master B. Lake. And then our guest today is none other than Jeff Sedam himself.
Hi.
Alright, so how we're going to do this is we're just going to ask you a couple questions, get to know you a little better before we start getting into the more personal stuff.
Got it.
You want me to start a match?
Yeah. So, what do you do for a living, Jeff?
Owner-operator, Toledo, Illinois.
What does that normally entail for you specifically to do?
I operate grocery store from fresh fruits, grocery items, dairy, frozen, all the above. Write schedules, pay the bills, do the advertising, do the promotions, all the stuff a small business entails.
How long have you been doing that, would you say?
I started the store when it first opened in 1987, and I've been there every day except for about a year and a half, where I left for a little bit, and then now I'm back.
And now you're here with us.
Yes.
The pinnacle of your career, right here.
This is, right at the age of 50.
Do you have any questions for him, Blake?
No, not really.
Blake just wants to make sure that I sign his paycheck every week.
Kind of.
Kind of, yes. Very important.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty, shall we?
Let's do.
So, in your many years of reading comics, watching comic-based movies, what would you say is your all-time favorite superhero? Can be Marvel, DC, Dark Horse, anything.
Well, with the two big companies between Marvel and DC, you have to pick one out of each. It's kind of hard just to say one, but the Thing from the Marvel side and Batman from the DC side.
Strong choices. Is there...
Yep, grew up with the Fantastic Four, is probably my first really like. And just like the Thing. Don't know what really drawed me to him, but and of course you can't not like Batman. Batman's got all the cool toys and gadgets and some of the best villains in the universe, and just, that's why I like those two.
So in Batman's Rogue Gallery, who would you have to say is your favorite?
Oh, the Joker for sure. I mean, from the 66 series, which I always enjoyed, and of course with the newer movies now, Hedger really knocked it out of the park there. So
yes, he did.
Besides that, Poison Ivy's always cool. I mean, there's Joker for sure.
Did you ever watch the Batman animated series with Mark Hamill as the Joker?
I went back and watched a few episodes on YouTube, but it was not a stage in my life where I was really paying attention too much to the cartoon side, so I did miss a lot of that.
Well, it's definitely worth the watch.
Yeah, you always like going back and listening to Mark Hamill do the voice and all that.
Alright, so we've asked for your favorite superhero. Who is your least favorite in both universes?
Well, I'm gonna pick Thor for the Marvel side, and it's not because I don't like Thor. It's I never really could read the comics. They had the slang and all that. I just never really got into it, and I just Thor was not the one. But when it got to the movies, he's got to be one of my favorites when the universe came out. So. On the DC side, there's a lot I don't like. I mean, unfortunately, I've never been a Superman fan. I don't care for Booster Gold. I could go on and on. And I mean, there's just a lot of DC characters that I just don't care for, don't understand. Or I'm a Marvel guy. I'm a 100% Marvel guy. So there's a lot on the DC that I don't like. But yeah, Thor. I thought about that a while back, and I was like. Didn't understand why, but I guess I just couldn't understand some of the words and some of the writings that they were doing back in the day.
Okay. Let's see, what other questions do I have? I've actually got one. If you could be cast into any Marvel movie that they have made from, and this encompasses like when Fox had the movies throughout all time, what movie would you want to be in, and who would you want to play?
Oh, good one. I think my favorite has to be Civil War. The second Captain America one.
Winter Soldier?
What was the name of that one? Yes, that has to be my favorite. Captain America was just super cool, and that just really enjoyed that show. So probably that one.
So you'd be willing to almost get arrested to prove a point.
True. Go underground.
What did you think of them changing Nick Fury in the comics to more match Samuel L. Jackson when he was cast as Nick Fury?
It didn't bother me. I mean, who doesn't like Sam Jackson? It'd be nice if he could swear a little bit more. But, no, I enjoy Sam. They did a good job with him, and I'm fine with it.
What would you say if, for some odd reason, Marvel was like, hey, so you know how we have all these characters? Let's add a really obscure one. Let's add Squirrel Girl to the MCU.
Well, I'm definitely not a fan of Squirrel Girl, but there is a lot of folks in the Marvel Universe that they have not brought up yet. And I know Moon Knight's one of my older favorites, and it would be nice if they'd bring him back. I know I think a TV series is coming, so that would be nice. Stuff I used to read back in the 80s, like Captain Carrot. Just the off-the-wall stuff would be really fun if they brought something like that back. I thought Netflix is doing some good stuff with Luke Cage and Elektra and Daredevil, so it'd be nice to bring those folks back out into the forefront again. Besides that, off the wall, far away, Marvel stuff. Howard the Duck. I mean, they had a movie of that. It was pretty corny, and he showed up in the universe. It'd be cool to see what they could do with that. And I know with the She-Hulk coming out, they're going to use her as an attorney and represent some of the folks. So I think that'll be pretty cool to watch.
Do you think once Daredevil is added to the MCU that She-Hulk and Matt Murdock will basically work together on a case?
That would be cool. Or go against each other too. That'd be fun. But no, there's a lot of possibilities there.
Alright, time to test your knowledge on some comics.
Well, that I may fail at pretty good, bad. So we'll see how good I am.
It's going to be a simple true or false.
All right.
You won't feel too bad if you get it wrong.
Okay.
Spider-Man's first debut was in 1963.
True.
Correct. Do you happen to know what it was?
It was Amazing Fantasy number 15.
All right. Next one. Can Wonder Woman fly?
Wonder Woman absolutely cannot fly.
Okay.
Maybe my opinion.
If you could take one of the older, like, actors who played a character, or not even in the MCU yet, but like an older actor who's like well into his, like, he or she like well into their 60s, 70s, 80s, and bring them back to their prime, who would it be and what would they play?
Sean Connery as Cable.
Ooh.
That is a good choice.
That would actually be really interesting.
But we know it can't happen now.
I'd probably have to pick... That's actually a hard one. I didn't think this through. Let's see. I know, I can't remember his name, but he played Dumbledore in the second through the 8th movie of Harry Potter, and I'd cast him as Professor X.
Interesting.
What he did with Dumbledore was really good, except for the 4th one. He kind of oversold it, in my opinion. But he definitely has that nurturing, I will protect my students if need be, even if I die. Like, he can really get into those leadership characters.
Got it. How about Blake?
Who would you pick, Blake?
For what?
So for any, like, older actor or actress, if you could bring them back to their prime and put them in a Marvel movie, who would you pick and who would they play?
If we're going for funny, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Galactus.
That's definitely an interesting one.
Especially if we're going prime. You know, the bodybuilder and everything.
So like T2 Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Alright, let's see. If you could replace any actor, who would you replace?
You go ahead and go first.
I honestly, I definitely would have gotten rid of Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man in Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I think it would have been interesting if, like, Michael Cera was Spider-Man.
That'd be interesting.
Because you have, like, Tobey Maguire was kind of serious, Tom Holland is, like, kind of goofy, and Michael Cera can play both spectrum, like, both sides. And his acting's a little bit better than Garfield, in my opinion.
Alright, how about Charlie Sheen as Iron Man?
That? So are we talking, like, 2.5 Men, Charlie Sheen, or Major League?
Nope, 2.5. No, 2.5 Men.
That could be interesting.
That would be interesting. I like John
That would
Cryer
definitely
as
fit for like the first Iron
Lex
Man.
Luthor.
That was good.
Yep, I thought he did a good job on that.
So what are your thoughts on them bringing back the original 2 Spider-Man and their girlfriends into the new Spider-Man movie?
I have no problem. I always like to see how they do it, but I hope they just don't make it too complicated, and I like to really watch it, enjoy it, not have to think real hard. But Marvel's not messed up a whole lot lately, so I'll trust they know what they're doing.
I think in my opinion, their biggest mix-up was, their mess-up that I didn't like was, honestly, probably Thor: The Dark World. Like, its execution could have been a little bit better.
Yeah, that was Agree.
Yeah.
Let's see.
My turn to ask a question. Any comic series out there that is off the wall that you guys would recommend, or of any type? Not the normal Spider-Man, Batman action comics. Anything out there you guys have read or looked at that you would recommend?
Ooh.
Are we just limiting ourselves to superheroes, or like?
No, it could be anything. Anything comic book related. Because mine's comic book related, but it's not a superhero.
I'd go to the Star Wars.
There you go.
Get to see Vader in his prime.
True. Well, I'll do mine while you think, Tim. Mine is Sam and Twitch. They're 2 detectives that were in the Spawn comics. In the early 90s, they started their own series, and they've had a couple really good series that I've really, really liked. And not very often do you anticipate going to the comic shop and picking up a comic anymore. But yeah, that was something I was looking forward to, and I'd recommend it if anyone out there. Sam and Twitch on Image Comics. Good read there by Todd McFarlane.
I think...
And it's not necessarily superhero related at all. It's mostly detective stuff, but it's a pretty interesting read. Go ahead, Tim.
I think the one that I definitely recommend, and I've talked to you about this, but I definitely recommend Scooby-Doo Apocalypse. Like,
Yep, I agree.
It's a darker turn on Scooby-Doo. It's just a really interesting read if you just want to, like, kick back and experience something a little more akin to the movies that they were releasing, like darker, more serious.
Right.
Okay, there's a question I was gonna ask, but I can't remember what it was. Okay, so let's rein it back a bit. So back to like Mercer Market.
Got it.
What would you say is a highlight of your career there?
Highlight of my career?
Like your all-time favorite moment from working there?
Well, I enjoy what we do at the pork chop cookouts, raising money for the folks, for the nonprofits and folks like that. It's something really simple for us. It's simple for them, and then we've raised a lot of money for the county and the organization. So, I mean, that's not one moment at all. If we have to talk about certain moments, it's probably like our open houses that we do in the Christmas time. That's a lot of work that goes into that, and it's really nice to see it turn out well. So the open house would be one of the days, and then probably overall would be the cookouts that we do for the organizations.
So from what I understand, lately when you came back to run the store, you've been doing your own little advertisements.
That is true.
And they've been getting quite the buzz on Facebook.
Yeah, one thing when I came back to the store last February, I said I wanted to have more fun this time. So we knew the Facebook was out there, and I honestly was not all my idea. I was watching Facebook, and where I got the idea was a brother would come home from school every day, and his other brother would meet him at the bus stop, and every day he would have a different costume on. At least that's what they showed on Facebook. I don't know if it was every week or what it was, but I thought that was interesting, and of course it caught my attention, and I figured, well, why couldn't we do something simple like that and just do simple promotions? And that's where it all kind of started from, and some of them are really good, some of them are pretty corny, but it just engaged the folks, and the pandemic was going on, and we all needed a little laugh, so we're trying to make them funny, trying to be informative, and try to promote the store, and so far I think it's worked out.
So what has been your favorite ad to film?
Obviously they're not all with me, and it's some of them we've had other folks in, but we had Scott Schroeder do a cook, I can't remember what her name was, but during Thanksgiving time, and that made me laugh pretty good. And we did
Julia Child?
Julia Child, that's right. That was really good. I thought the Halloween one was pretty good too. The one I did a Killer Bee, a murder hornet here about a month ago when it was snowing. I thought that was pretty quick and good for what I was doing. So, and there's been a lot. The one I thought was absolutely my best one, it got very little views, and it was the one with Colleen dressed up as a foot, and I was singing "This Little Piggy Went to Market." I just thought that was pretty good, but didn't get the views as we would want. But I think right now the number one viewed is the land sharks that we did with the hurricane back in April or May. I think it's got the most views. I think Julia Childs is number 2. And I think number 3 is when me and Colleen were doing the rock, paper, scissors, which we ended as a tie, and we have to break that tie one of these days.
Who do you think is going to win that?
I started 3 in the hole last time, so I'm hoping it's not. I don't have 3 faces full of food again, but we'll have to wait and see.
Do you have any questions, Blake?
No. Not so far.
What do I pay you for, Blake? You gotta come up with some questions.
Wait, I'm getting paid?
When we successfully negotiate your contract, yes.
Okay then. By the way, I can't join your party. in Call of Duty.
That is because I am currently in a match.
You dummy.
By any chance, Jeff, have you started playing Fallen Order?
I knew you was going to ask me that. I just got the PlayStation hooked back up. I had to take it apart and redo some things, so I have not started yet. And I better start before spring gets here. It won't happen, but still got it sitting next to the TV, and I just got to get going on it. I need some time off. Can you do anything about that, Tim? Can you give me some days off?
If you can promote me to manager, I can see what happens.
We'll start working on that.
Whoa, so you said you're 50, or around 50.
Yeah, 50.
What was your first job?
My first job was at this. Well, I mean, I mowed yards, before I was 16. Well, we had probably 20 yards that we'd mowed around the New Boston area. But no, my first job was at 16 at Mercer Market. I worked a few other places along with that over the years, but in February 12th, I believe, is the first day I started at the store in 1987.
So who was your boss back then?
My boss back then was Keith Oberender, and his assistant was Tim Salman. And then Keith left, and then Tim was my boss, and then I'm the one to replace Tim. And that's about as far as it goes.
What was your... So, you left for a bit before you came back to Mercer Market.
Yep.
What did you do in between that time?
Oh, I had a midlife crisis and left and went to a store in DeWitt, Iowa. I worked there for about 6 months. And the grass was not greener on the other side of the river. Then I came back and I worked for Dale Jones Auction House for about 6 months. I really liked that. It was, it was hard work, and I didn't mind sweating and emptying old houses out and carrying junk. But I had to go further, and then I called Pepsi in Davenport, and I worked for Pepsi in Davenport for about 1.5 years, and I enjoyed that too. And that was hard work, and some days easy, some days hard. Putting pop on shelves at the 2 Hy-Vees in Fairway and Muscatine. And then Steve decided to retire at the store, and I decided I might as well come back. So that is the life of Jeff over the last 3 years.
Well, we're happy to have you back.
Yay! I'm glad to be back. I mean, the pandemic was pretty hard on everything, so it was good to have an extra hand. And before Steve had retired, and Steve's still at the store a couple days a week, and so far so good.
So, we've talked comics, we've talked, jobs you've had. What, if you don't mind me asking, not trying to pry, but what was a low point for you in your life?
Low point in my life? My dad passed away in 93, and that was pretty sucky. He'd went in for some surgeries, and they sent him home, and he kept having problems, and then we drove him back to the hospital, and the next day he had a major heart attack in the hospital, and you usually don't die in the hospital. That's kind of the hard part. When you have a heart attack, that's the place you want to be, but that pretty sucked. Sucked pretty hard there. Well, we we've always had other low points, but that was about the worst, the suckiest.
Now to liven things up, what was the, like, so far, what has been the pinnacle, like the highest moment in your life?
I don't think this is a pinnacle, but back in the day, if you bought enough groceries and did enough promotions, you got, this was through Betty Crocker. They gave you a free trip to Walt Disney World, and then you got to drive around Daytona Speedway in one of the Richard Petty's cars. And that was pretty cool. They sent you to Walt Disney World for 3 days, and then they drove you over to Daytona, and you drove around the track. That was pretty damn cool. I mean, that's just something every day that you just don't get to do. So that was nice. They flew you down there and took care of you, and drove a car 150 mile an hour around Daytona, and came back home. So that was one of the cool things.
Well, Jeff,
and it was due to the work.
Thank you so much for being our, like, first official guest. I know this was really unprofessional. I tried my best.
That's all good. You can have me back when you get professional. How's that?
Okay. I look forward to having you back later in September.
You betcha. Movies and comics and TV. How's that? And
we will have a surprise for you in September, so be prepared.
I will be prepared.
It's been an absolute pleasure.
You betcha. Thank you, guys. Have a good night.
You too.
You too.
And that was Jeff Sedam, everybody. He will definitely be coming back at a later date. I hope that he doesn't mind, but I have a couple things planned for his next guest appearance. But I won't spoil too much, just in case this gets to him.
It probably will. I mean, you watched the first one, so...
Yeah. That first podcast was just very entertaining to do.
Yeah, because we didn't have a guest.
Well, I'm talking like the pilot where me and two other guys, where we ate the flaming hot Cheetos popcorn.
Oh. I left the party because I went to Cold War Zombies because it wasn't queuing up.
I have Cold War in, that's why I couldn't join.
Oh, got it.
I will be going in basically completely blind into Subnautica.
You've never played Subnautica?
I've never played Subnautica.
Do you have a fear of the ocean?
I do not.
Would you like to?
I doubt I will. I've played Phasma once before, but that's about.
Ooh, we could do that together.
That would be interesting. Well, I seem to be having connection problems, so thank you for joining us on the first official podcast. Each title will be based on it, like, will be joke off a different movie, whatever movie I feel like I want to make fun of. This one was, I was making fun of the Phantom Menace, so this one was called the Comic Menace, kind of to fit in with the comic superhero thing we had going on.
Oh.
But if anyone has any recommendations on what movie I should make fun of, just leave a comment down below, and I'll pick the best one, and that's what we'll use for the second episode.
By the way, I had like the worst drop ever.
Yeah, you're in Gulag almost immediately.
Yeah, I dropped and then someone pistoled me while I was on that rooftop.
And this is why we only land stadium.
Pretty much. Is that you?
Yep.
Fucker.
Oh, I'm getting shot. I'm shot.
Where?
11, I think. Building next to us. I'm getting shot from multiple directions, actually. Yeah, building across from us. But yeah, we will.
Dead? Yeah, you're dead.
We will definitely see you guys next time. Blake, it's been a pleasure.
Wait, you're leaving too?
No, I'm just saying I'm writing the podcast.
Oh, okay.
We've had fun. So for now, goodbye.